Hello and welcome to ROI from AI, the podcast where in just 20 minutes, we break down how real businesses are getting real results from AI. I'm your host, Brad Guy. Today's guest is Michael LeVene, the CEO of ExIQ, a company that's redefining how data-driven decisions are made in the enterprise space. He's got a background in scaling innovative startups and a passion for building smart, resilient teams. Michael can help you build your business with the clever use of AI, and he's here right now. Michael, welcome to ROI from AI.
Oh, thank you very much.
My
Um,
pleasure. I want to start with the origin story of ExIQ. What problems were you trying to solve, and what's the genesis of this whole idea?
so I actually originally started Execute because I wanted to do business consulting and help businesses solve problems. And I've got a very strong background in automation and systems integration. So as I've been working with a mentor who sits on the board of hospitals and other industries, he said, well, there's a lot of consultants out there. Why don't you leverage your technical expertise and work with technology? So I decided I'll concentrate on doing technology, and it was about that time AI was starting to become more predominant, and realized well, there's a huge space to help industry with AI. Because no one really understands AI properly in a lot of businesses, or there's very few people that understand AI. So I would say I call myself an AI navigator. I help businesses navigate their way or their path through AI, figure out what's the best solutions to implement, what's the lowest hanging fruit to help get return on investment on your business. And coming from a bit of an enterprise background, and also I've worked with infrastructure, particularly like water utilities, where you turn on the tap, the water's always got to come out. It doesn't not come out sometimes. So I'm used to very resilient technology, and also got some people behind me who have worked in banking. So we use generally Azure for implementing solutions at the top level, so generally redundant availability zones, and we leverage their security to make certain anything we implement's got very good security around it.
And it's worthwhile work. We're seeing a lot of businesses that want to adopt AI, and AI is becoming more accessible, but there's obviously those barriers in place. And that's where you fit in. You're obviously helping businesses integrate and adopt AI technologies. Why do you think there's some of those barriers with these small to medium businesses? Is it like a conservative mindset, traditional based businesses? Why do you think there's that dissidence?
I think it's like any new technology, you do have those early adopters, but the majority of people don't understand it. It's a little bit scary. Is it actually going to perform, or is it all hype? And some of it is hype. And there's just generally a lack of knowledge out there. A lot of my time is actually spent going into businesses and explaining to them, this is what you can do with AI. This is how it can automate some of your processes. A lot of people know about ChatGPT, and it's great. It can come up with some concepts for me, and I can ask it questions. But how do you actually put something like that into the business to automate processes and realize real savings? And that's where I think there's a bit of a disconnect between just a general web-based tool and then more a deeper integration of an agent that can then integrate to your CRM or your appointment booking software, or whatever sort of, if it's ERP, whatever software it is. There's not as much understanding around how to do that. You've also got to understand how to implement AI. If you try and treat AI like a human at the moment, give it too many tasks, it'll fall over. I think a report came out just recently saying that the best of the best at the time, which was Google Gemini 2.5 Pro, only completed 30% of tasks that were given to it. These are longer tasks without human intervention. So it's not quite at the point where you can just leave AI and say, just go off and do it. So a big part of training people as well is explaining what AI can do and can't do and how to set it up within the business. And I think that's just, yeah, generally a lot of misunderstanding around that.
Well, it's also such a rapidly evolving space. And I think maybe that acceleration is starting to scare people and they're not really used to seeing it. It's just changed so quickly, so fast. Even the next 5 to 10 years, I think will really skyrocket. You're someone that's working in this space, you've got your finger on the pulse. How do you stay up to date with how fast things are evolving?
It it's a challenge. I probably spend between 5 and 10 hours every week, reading newsletters, watching YouTube videos of a few people I follow who do a lot of the hard yards looking up information, and keeping track of all the releases. So I think the most recent news would be Grok 4 came out late last week, and now people have been starting to put it through the paces, and even Grok 4 Pro, and that's currently the leader in capability. But it'll probably only be another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then another AI come out that'll supersede it. In fact, I think Chat GPT-5 was meant to come out this month, but that's been delayed around security issues. So it's, yeah, constantly changing, and that is actually one of the challenges when implementing solutions as well, is how do you implement a solution for a customer and know it's going to just work and not need to be updated and changed in 1 month's time.
Well, the knowledge base space, and the web chat, the interactive communication, ChatGPT, like you said, this is pretty big evolving space. A lot of your work revolves around these chatbots as well. How do you see this developing over the next 5 to 10 years?
I think the knowledge-based chatbots will become commonplace. An example of how that can be used is, rather than have a whole heap of documentation around an ISO 9001 quality system, you just load all those documents into the database, and then you just ask the chatbot, "Oh, how do I do this?" And it'll pop out a procedure for you exactly to what you're asking. So you're not spending 10, 15 minutes looking for a document, reading through it, figuring out what you need to do. And the next evolution, obviously, from typing to chatbots is talking to AI. And that's one area which I did have a really good ROI study on, which is our voice product, which is called a Freya, which actually comes from a Norse goddess called Freya, I think, which is beauty, health, and magic. So it kind of fits in well with AI because it's a little bit magical. And in particular, this example is around health. So if you want, I can share a screen and just take you through an example, because I think this podcast is very much about helping people understand, does AI actually give return on investment? And this one I think is a pretty clear cut example, and I've we'll just share the screen now.
I would love to see. Bring out the data.
So as I said, this is a Freya. We developed it very much around medical for privacy, which is why we use Azure, which we can also do medical database. Generally, we try and avoid storing medical data. It's more just customer interaction. And because we've only got limited time, we're not going to talk about how it all works. I'm going to say that it's a voice AI. And if someone's not familiar with what voice AI does, it's basically talking to an AI and it sounds human. So it sounds just like us talking. And
Okay.
some people would be, a lot of people would be challenged to even pick up that it's an AI. You can go off on tangents and it will handle those.
It's like the
So
Turing test.
this example, it's based on a real business, but I have changed the totals just to give a bit of privacy, so it can't be related to a specific individual business, and it might be a little bit larger than what some of your customers are, but I think if it can be scaled up or down, just to give an idea. There's obviously a limit to how far you can scale down, but it generally will give you an idea of sales. So this particular medical center I spoke to, they had 10 clinics, and approximately, well, it was 2 receptionists per clinic. And for simplicity, we say they work 6 days a week, 12-hour shifts, and their pay on average is about $30 an hour. I was shocked the first time I found out how many calls these sort of medical centers get. They were getting 62,500 calls. It's actually about double the number of minutes. The average call length is about 2 minutes. But they've actually missed 10% of calls, even with that number of staff. And the annual cost for just the admin staff are about 2.25 million, which which isn't insignificant. Remembering that medical centres actually run on quite tight margins, so it is a significant cost to medical centres. So then we've come in and we've put a proposal. We actually do things in a lot of detail. So I had a 60-page PRD a product requirements document that we put together that details all the interactions, and there's lots of complex issues you have to deal with, such as mental health issues.
Mm.
How does the AI handle that? And it's not straightforward. You don't want to say something wrong to someone who's depressed. So it's that's why there's so much detail that goes into these AIs. But
Okay.
not to get too much on the operation, just sticking on costs. I've overestimated costs as well because I really like to be conservative when I'm given these sort of returns. So I said, let's say it costs 200,000 to implement, and your monthly AI cost based on about 40 cents a minute. So it's only while you're using the AI you're paying for this is $50,000. So your total annual AI cost 600,000. Your total first year is about $800,000. It sounds quite significant, but let's have a look at what that actually does for the business. After you've put the AI in, and I've again conservatively said it only takes care of 50% of phone calls. In reality, if you've tuned it well, it will exceed that. So I've said, look, you can reallocate 10 staff. So you essentially save 10 staff that are just taking phone calls. Your yeah, that's completely still it's for your 10 clinics. That doesn't change. So 50% staff reduction. And the other advantage is 24/7 capability. As before, you can only answer phone calls during clinic hours. The AI will pick up phone calls at any time of the day. So if someone rings after hours, it'll still book appointments, cancel appointments, shift appointments. So that's a real advantage.
Mm.
The other advantage with running an AI is it's like I can take a copy of you and just copy you multiple times and limit it. So if you have like 20 customers calling in at the same time, where you can have 20 AIs taking all those phone calls, you're not limited by the number of phone calls you can receive.
Mm.
And a really good advantage of that means that you don't miss calls. So looking at the financial benefit is you save 1.12 million on staff costs. Um, that's a total net saving of just over 500,000. But this is where it really also pays for itself is recovered calls. Let's say out of those just over 6,000 calls that you miss, 10% of those calls actually convert to additional appointments. So again, I'm being conservative. There might, because some of those calls people might ring back or they might have been transferred somewhere. So I've said only 10%, and those calls are worth about $200 each for your average appointment. That gives you an extra 1.5 million a year gross income. Now, the way most medical centers work is they take a percentage of uh, the doctor's earnings, doctors work as contractors, so they normally take about 30% of the gross takings. So I've actually been realistic and said, well, that's actually about 450,000 net revenue. So your total net benefit is just under $1 million in that first year. It's not insignificant at all. So big picture, return on investment in this example is 386%. Payback once it's implemented is less than 2.5 months. Yeah, and your annual benefit, if you look at the total gross, is just over 2 million. And yeah, it really makes a difference, and that's in the first year. And as you fine tune systems, AI is getting better, and it does, as you've already said, every month. It,
Mm.
it just keeps getting better, and also costs are coming down on models. So some of this you might need to use more advanced models that cost more, but as time's going on, we can shrink those models and use cheaper models. So I expect these figures to get better and better.
And this is something you feel like could scale as well alongside the business to generate even more net revenue?
Absolutely. So this is only just one small segment of the business, which is taking appointments. There are other products and ideas, some that I can't say here that I'm working on, and but yes, just general anything admin you can automate. Also, there are other products for doctors, such as voice dictation, that listens to the appointment and then makes all the notes for the doctor, and that's already being used. There's another product out there, so that's like significant time for doctors already.
So outside of the business for consumers and people that would be listening to these inbound AI calls, are there any concerns around the human aspect of it, people not wanting to talk to a robot, people maybe feeling hesitant to, like, I put robot in quotations, of course, but has there been any pushback from people using this software or using this programming?
It's interesting because I do use this for myself personally. If I miss calls, I get an AI to pick up and take a message, and then it forwards a message to me of summarized as to what they wanted to talk about. It also books appointments.
Mm.
It's a real mixture. Some people don't realize it's an AI. Others realize it's an AI and will just use it anyway because it's convenient.
Yeah.
You will have a few people who say they don't like it or don't want to use it. And in all of our processes we put in place, if they say they want to talk to a real person, if they pick up it's not a real person, it immediately transfers through to just general reception. And that's where I put that really conservative. It only handles 50% of calls in this instance. So if people say they don't want to talk with it, not a problem. It'll just transfer over to a human.
Well, it's that uncanny valley of, if people don't know they're talking to an AI, then they might not care, but once they discover, they might feel a little disturbed. But I think the technology is going in such an interesting space where I think if something sounds more human, people would adopt AI more readily. But if something sounds a bit too robotic and a bit too cold and clinical, I think they're missing that connection. So it's definitely very, very exciting space and huge scale for growth, especially with admin tasks. I like to think if a hospital, for example, is using AI for their admin, then they can put more effort into the care and well-being of the patients they're looking after. So there is that social impact as well. Is that something in the back of your mind when you're working with this technology, that the dollars and cents are great, but there's a real world impact to what you're creating as well?
Absolutely, and I have even spoken to government about improving their processes with AI. And I think AI works best alongside humans. It's not there to replace humans entirely. It just doesn't work. I mean, if AI did everything, then what's the point of us? And so it's really like most technologies is to improve the quality of life. And so I like to see AI used just to get rid of those mundane sort of day to day interactions where it doesn't really have much value, and then use your employees to add more value. So for receptionists, instead of every time you walk into a doctor's surgery, they're always on the phone and you're waiting to talk to them,
Mm.
they're actually available to talk to you straight away and support you and help the doctors further. So you get better customer service because they're actually not tied up just doing mundane tasks.
Yeah, I can really see it having an impact. That's why it's exciting. It's also scary at the same time because it is so new. And you have spoken about where you see execute going in the next 5 to 10 years, but I kind of want to turn it to the wider AI space. As someone that's on the ground working with these technologies in general, where do you see AI technologies evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
Interesting question. I know there's a lot of talk about AGI, which is annual artificial general intelligence, and then ASI, which is artificial superintelligence. I'm I think we will reach a point in the next 10 years where we get AI that is got a really good level of general intelligence. I'm still not sure about the superintelligence side of things. I think you'll get AIs that are super capable in small or like in verticals. For example, one that could beat everyone at chess. Um, and I think it would generally be more adopted into business as time progresses, and also in particular downloaded into robotics. So you will find you will have more and more robots doing manual labor tasks. So taking those manual tasks away from humans, so we're able to concentrate more on relationships and more on leisure as well to some degree. It is very uncharted though. I think we need to be very careful not to take away people's need to be creative and to do things. So I think there'll be a limit that we place on how far AI goes. Otherwise, life in some for some people becomes pointless, and that is a real challenge because I don't like the idea of taking everyone or AI taking everyone's jobs.
Mm.
I think AI should be able to be used as a tool to allow people to do more work with less effort or concentrate on those more creative aspects of life.
I like to think that this whole AI taking jobs is in a way a positive. AI is taking the menial jobs that we don't really want to do, administrative or very like rudimentary jobs. If AI can take that, then that gives us more space to actually do something creative or artistic and even just personally fulfilling. So I think it's that perspective shift that we're probably going to see the most change in for the next 5 to 10 years. So it is exciting, but for businesses in particular, this is a business podcast, and you did speak very deeply about Freya and it's very exciting technology. But for anyone that is a small to medium business, and if you had to boil it down to its purest essence, what is your biggest tip for getting a return on investment using AI?
My biggest tip would be the early adopters are going to benefit most from using this technology, not to hold off to get someone like myself in to do a bit of an AI assessment and going, well, how can you use AI in your business? What are your existing processes? What are those things that you just keep doing again and again that you could automate? And that's really, to me, coming from a background of systems integration and factory automation, it's really just the next step. As before, you could automate some really basic tasks. Now you're just automating more advanced tasks. And don't look at it in a scary way. Just be open to it and get someone in who can really help you, give you some strategy and direction in it.
Mm, trust the experts. Trust Michael LeVene. He's on the ground doing it. No, beautiful. And it's amazing expertise. I'm really excited to see where this technology goes, especially with Freya. I think that is the space that we'll see evolve the most over the next 5 years. But we really appreciate your insights, Michael. So thank you so much for joining us on RI from AI.